Welcome back today for round 10 here of the GT Sport League at Gavra Racing. We're at the Suzuka circuit this time out, so we're a little bit late, but no, we should be all good now. Apologies about that. But once again, I'm joined by my commentator Thunder 5050.
Hello.
And like I mentioned, we're at the Suzuka circuit here in Japan. We're back from, well, going from one side of Japan to the other, from Fuji now to Suzuka. We have a 12-minute qualifying session just like the other qualifying sessions that we've done, and we'll see what type of times these drivers are going to set. But Thunder, what time do you think will be a good pole time?
I think around a 1:59 or 1:58 maybe. I think that's what it'd be around in a GT car around that time.
Yeah, I reckon if these drivers can get into the 58s, that'd be a really good time, as Jojo has got his spinning at the, I don't know what corner that is, but got his two wheels on the grass, and that's unfortunately sent him into a spin. We saw a few similar incidents to that last week, but Tobbs in the Honda, it's a really tricky car actually to drive, but he's made it work for him. He's currently became second last week's race at Fuji. We'll see what type of time he can do here at Suzuka. And we have 12 drivers on the grid, so hopefully it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and touching your point about getting the wheels in the grass, this track really punishes you on going a little bit wide, because it's kind of one of those old school tracks. If you get in the grass, it spins you around, and more than likely you're going to hit a barrier and have a lot of damage to your car.
Definitely, and we'll just, Tobbs is coming through the final chicane now. We'll just see what time he puts in respect to the other guys who will be setting their laps as he comes around the final corner. No bump, unlike the F1 game. He sets a 1:58.5, so a good lap from him. Joe Black will be the next to come across the line, so that's a 2:01.4. Jojo Power obviously had his spin. Oriole goes up into second place, if I can find who goes 2 minute flat. I believe Holland Campion sets a 2:08.8, and 2 Saints that's a 1:58.59.7. Play Dutchy with a 1:58.5 goes second, 100th behind Tobster in the Nissan. So maybe Play Dutchy's pole position streak might be coming to an end. Cryptex that's a 2:03.9, puts him up into 7th place. Airbag sets a 2:09.3. I believe he's replacing Duke in today's race. He's in the Beetle, an interesting livery for himself. And Jojo Power in 10th place, but I'm sure he'll improve on his lap. We did see him spin in the middle part of this track.
Same O'Barry just crossed the line and only sets a 2:02. So you can see a lot of drivers struggling here. Oh, as Phoenix Gamer's round. Phoenix Gamer going wide at turn 1. I'll just have a quick look and we can see what happened there. Maybe not. A bit too late on the replays, but it probably got wide, like you say, onto the AstroTurf, and then he's lost the rear of the car. You can see his rear tyres are actually quite worn in the bottom left hand side of the screen. So that's what I think happened personally. I think Airbag has had a little bit of it off, and I saw him there as I fixed my camera, so he might have had another off, and we're already seeing that this track is really easy to make mistakes. So it might be even just an endurance race of just, you have to win, you just have to finish, which we might see, and the mindset of the drivers might be different.
Potentially, is Holland Campion. It was hard to tell if he went wide or if he was letting Tiger go through, but Tobbs has come across the line now. Does it improve? 4/10 slower than his personal best, but he'll be looking to try and extend the gap at the top and get his first pole position. But Jojo Power actually goes 4th with a 1:59.9, a good lap from him. Other people coming across the line now. 2 Saint improves, moves up, stays in 3rd actually with a 1:59.1. 5/10 off Play Dutchy. Tiger moves his way up into 4th place in the Aston, only a 10th behind 2 Saint. And Jojo Power round at turn 1 with cars having to go wide to avoid him. Unfortunately, we've seen him struggle actually with traction a fair bit in that Audi. Once you've lost the Audi, it does tend to go and leave you with quite difficult car to drive. But once you get it right, like we've seen Jojo Power do many times.
I think Joe Black is actually going to do a proper qualifying.
I'll have to wait and see. He's come out on a fresh set of super softs. I'm not sure he's refueled. I don't think he's refueled. Simmerberg comes across the line. He goes up into 7th place. 2 minute flat. Sorry, 2 minute point 4. See where he ends up in the end of this qualifying session.
Oh no, he's back in the pits. He's back in the pits.
But so far, after we've got 4.5 minutes left, and Tobster is on provisional pole position, only a 10th quicker than Play Dutchy at the moment. Play Dutchy is actually caught in a little bit of traffic with Toussaint and Tiger. There's kind of a 3-4-way train actually, as I think that's Jojo Power in the background. So some of these drivers slipstreaming each other. Might not be the best for this track, obviously with the dirty air in the first sector, but come the start-finish straight on the straight before 130R, obviously there will be a bit of an advantage with the slipstream. We'll just have to see how and whether they improve on their laps. I believe that's Jojo, so that knows Holland Campion with a penalty, so he might have to serve that.
Tobster just gone into the pits there. He's about to finish lap, but he boarded the lap. But Play Dutchy's purple in the middle sector, 2 tenths up on his personal best, so he's on second pole, but he goes very, very wide. So that might compromise his lap.
It's Toussaint here, tucking in behind Tiger. Oriole actually improves, sets a 1 minute 59.8, and Tiger and Toussaint both pull into the pits. Where does Play Dutchy go? Does he improve? He doesn't improve. No. So Toussaint and Tiger both pitting for a fresh set of super softs. They're not going to refuel their cars. Their car's going to be lighter than it was at the start of qualifying. So we'll just have to wait and see what type of times they do. As Holland Camp, they might actually get a bit of traffic with Holland Campion coming through turn 1. Oh, this is pretty close between these guys. I think Holland Campion's gone wide actually. As Airbags, that's the personal best of a 2 minute 3, moves himself up into 10th place.
As we've Simmerbear about to cross the line, as he aborts into the pits. One thing I will say is, seeming everyone's gone into the pits, this track may be a very high grading track in your tyres, because we don't usually see as many drivers pit in qualifying, so it might lead into a very interesting race of strategy and who can preserve their tyres the longest, and that might have helped them in the race.
Definitely, yeah. As Suzuka, probably, I'd say quite a tyre wearing track. Obviously you got the fast medium speed S's in the first sector, and then the high speed of Spoon and 130R, and the occasional low speed hairpins in the 90-degree corners, 180-degree corners, etc. So some drivers pitting for fresh tyres to hopefully, well, for them to improve on their lap time.
I think Tobster is about to about to start his final lap of qualifying, and only 100 separates him from Play Dutchy. This league showing again how tight the qualifying can be, as we've seen a lot.
I think in pretty much every race we've had someone within a tenth difference of someone, if not 2 tenths. That's how close it is here. But Tobster now will start his final lap. We'll ride on board with him for probably the majority of his lap. I'm going to check on Play Dutchy. He seems to be improving. I'm not sure he's going to improve this lap. Oh no, he does. 8 thousandths. Wow. 8 thousandths behind Tobster. Jojo Power improves and moves his way up into 5th place with a 159.3. 5 thousandths behind Tiger Assassin.
This just showing how tight this league is, and maybe some drivers here mightn't have had as much practice as they usually would have seen when the new F1 came out. No excuse though, but maybe Play Dutchy might not get, I think, these 6 pole positions in a row.
I'll have to wait and see. Tobster's currently 4 tenths up in the first sector alone, so he's definitely trying to stop Play Dutchy's streak of pole positions. Welcome to everyone in the chat. How are you all doing? If you've missed the previous races, I recommend you go check them out. But here we're at Suzuka, and it's turning out to be what could hopefully be a good race. And someone's at the... Who's at the final corner? It's Cryptek. He's preparing himself for another lap. No, he's not. He's got major damage, so he'll be coming into the pits. That's his qualifying over, unfortunately. He's got engine damage in front, right damage to his Aston Martin. So, unfortunate for him.
As Tobster is 4 tenths up in his best time.
So Topster now, the qualifying session is over. Only 2 minutes 15 seconds left for these drivers to set their final laps. Will Topster improve on his pole position? Provisional pole. What's the lap time going to be? It's a 1:58 flat. Wow, that is quick. That is quick from Topster. Currently 5/10 clear of Play Dutchie, but what lap time will Play Dutchie do? Comes around the final corner. It's not enough, it's a 58.3. Jojo Power doesn't improve on his lap. He'll be starting in 5th place at the minimum. Tiger doesn't improve from his time either. Toussaint comes across the line, remains 3rd with a 1:58.9. Someone else is coming across the final corner now. It's Holland Campion. Does he improve? He improves and remains in 8th place, 4/10 behind Simmerberg. But we, ladies and gentlemen, have a new man on pole position. And here he is. His name is Topster 2710. Let's hope his internet doesn't crash like it did at what track was it? It was the long one, the Kyoto Driving Park. Let's hope it doesn't crash like that. But someone else is coming across the line. I'll try and 8 corners to go, and Topster's internet blew. But I believe there's someone coming across the final corner. It's Phoenix Gamer. We'll see what type of a lap. We'll see if he'd improve. I'm not sure it's an improvement.
I don't think so.
And that's the qualifying session over. So on pole position for the first time in the GT Sport League is Topster. He'll be starting from the front row of the grid, and alongside him will be Play Dutchie. The first time he's not qualified first, so he'll be looking to make up that position back. Toussaint will start in 3rd place alongside Tiger Assassin in 4th. Tiger in 4th, Jojo Power in 5th, followed by Oriel in 6th place in the Mercedes. Simmerberg will start in 7th, Holland Campion will start in 8th. He is driving the Jaguar F-Type. Joe Black, good job from him, got himself up into 9th place, only 9/10 behind Holland. He'll be looking to see how many positions he can make up in the race. Phoenix Gamer will start in 10th place, followed by Airbag in 11th, and Cryptech will be starting from the back of the grid. And that's the end of qualifying. There are the times for you once again, but here we go. It's time for the race. The Suzuka circuit, 5.8 kilometers, total elevation difference of 40 meters, 20 corners, and the longest straight of 1,200 meters. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to hopefully promote some close overtaking.
Let's go. An hour of racing to go.
Had the 12 minutes of quali, now it's the 1 hour in the race. Topster will line up on pole position for the 10th race in this league. His first time on pole. Let's see what he can do from that position. Play Dutchie will start alongside him in 2nd, but from the rolling start, and it's go, go, go here in the GT Sport League at Suzuka. All the drivers getting a clean start, I believe. There's been a bit of a gap actually between Simmerberg and Oriel. Already 2.1 seconds separate them. I'm not sure what's happened there with the game. But Play Dutchie's dived it down the inside. There's big contact. Big contact to Topster. Big engine damage to Topster. How unfortunate for him. Let's get another replay of that from Play Dutchie's point of view. We're going to ride on board with him. And oh dearie me, that might be looked at by the stewards. But back into the race now. Play Dutchie going down the inside of the inside of Topster. He's lucky enough to get no damage, but unfortunately Topster with big damage, rear suspension, bumper and engine damage. Holland Campion overtakes him. Simmerberg overtakes him. He's all the way down to 8th place.
Oh, so unfortunate. But if the championship leader is now in the lead.
If you thought his internet cutting out on the final lap was worse, imagine losing pole position from the lead of the race. It reminds me a little bit of Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost all those years ago. But Airbag getting around Topster with his damage, so that's how slow he is with the damage. But Joe Black's got himself up into 8th place, started 9th. He's obviously overtaken Topster, who's now at the back of the grid, unfortunately for him. But Toussaint now leads this way, followed by Tiger closely behind him in 2nd. This fellow British driver in the British Aston Martin. Jojo Power starts in 3rd place. Jojo Power's made his way up into third. Oriel in fourth. I can't get my words out. Play Dutchy down to fifth place after that first lap. Contacting in the background. Simmerbo and Holland Campion are going down side by side into 130. Will they go side by side like Kimi Räikkönen and Alonso did all those years ago? They do. Simmerbo round the outside. Really good move from him. He's made his way up into sixth place, and Holland Campion will drop back into second for now. But Joe Black has made his way up into eighth place, but he's really under the pressure from Phoenix Gamer in ninth, Airbag in 10th, and Cryptex in 11th. But Topstar, I believe, will be making his way back into the pits, as now Holland Campion will be in the slipstream of Simmerbo. He'll be looking to make a move on the Nissan driver and make his way back up into sixth place.
That's really unfortunate from Topster, but this is really good for the Saints rivalry in the championship, as Duke is missing this race and that is his closest rival. So I'm not sure if he wins this race, he is going to be probably unstoppable for the championship, which are really strong forms from the Saints. Obviously the Premier Series and F1 champions just shown he can win in everything.
Definitely, and he's also got Tiger currently in third place in the championship behind him. So without Duke, that will mean that Tiger will close down the gap to Duke in the championship. He might actually overtake Duke in second place, depending on how the results play out. But the front three pretty close together on track. Jojo Power having a little bit loose on the rear as Play Dutchy's made his way past Oriel, who's now up into fourth place after that turn one incident. But towards the back of the grid, you've got Joe Black and Phoenix Gamer, who have been going now since lap 1, and they're only on lap 2, and we've only had 5 minutes. But it's been a pretty eventful start here, actually. Unfortunately, Tobster down in last place, but you never know, we might see a comeback drive similar to Nico Rosberg in 2016. Pitted on lap 1, and I think he won the race or got on the podium. Can't quite remember, but hopefully we'll see Tobster back up in the podium positions after getting his first pole position. So we'll just have to keep an eye on how he does in the race. But Joe Black's having a look at move on Holland Campion. He might actually go down the inside. Doesn't decide to go down the inside into 130. It would have been a great move, but maybe he'll set himself up for the hairpin as Phoenix Gamer actually goes down the inside of Joe Black. There's a little bit of squeezing from the two drivers, but Phoenix Gamer gets past Joe Black, and we can have another look at that on the onboard of Phoenix Gamer. We'll get the overboard shot to see exactly how we got the move done, as Joe Black went for the inside line, but Phoenix Gamer was the one who wanted the inside line, and Jojo Power was round. Jojo Power gone wide at turn 2, sorry, and it's conceded the place to Play Dutchy and Oriel. I'll try and get a replay of that. I'm not sure if it will let me. Oh, it will.
He just went really wide.
Yeah, gone wide on turn 1. Like you said in qualifying, he's got onto the AstroTurf, and once you're on the AstroTurf or the grass, it's pretty difficult to recover the car back, like you say. But he done well to keep it on the track and Play Dutchy back into the podium position. So he's a man on the mission after that turn 1 incident. We'll just have to see how many positions he can make up in the race. And I think I've got my camera settings. Oh no, my cameras are correct. They just seem a little bit weird, but anyway, Two Saint now, after 5 minutes, makes his way up into the lead of the race. Started third place, and he's up into first place, representing the Mercedes team and also the British NHS. A really kind of suitable livery, you could say, for these certain times. But he's got Tiger Assassin and the Aston Martin right behind him. He's got the nice big Gavra Racing logo on the side of it in a nice bright blue. You're not missing that car. You'll see him coming when he dives it down the inside, like we saw him do at the circuit, the Lago Maggiore circuit. So have to see what he can do in this race. Currently 7/10 behind Two Saint in first. But Simmerbo and Oriel going side by side. Oriel's conceded the place to Simmerbo before 130R. He doesn't want to go side by side, potentially into the high speed left-hander, as it's very difficult to actually crash there by yourself, let alone go too wide, especially in the faster cars. But good move from Simmerbo, makes his way up into 5th place in the Honda. I believe he started all the way down in 8th or 7th, so it's been a good start to this race from him. I was looking down the back of the grid. I think Phoenix Gamer might have made a mistake, actually. He's down in 11th place, currently 4.5 seconds behind Airbag. He was behind Joe Black when he made the move down the inside. I didn't quite catch what happened to him, so, but maybe that was a driver mistake, I'm not too sure.
But I believe our closest battle is actually the battle for the lead.
As Tiger's doing really well to keep in contact with just saying this rain, this track is really hard to keep because the dirty air off the cars really affects the aerodynamics with Tiger's car, and it's a very twisty circuit which requires a lot of downforce.
Definitely,
so
but he's got a good run through the double right-hander. Would he go for a move? Or doesn't decide to go for a move yet, but the gap now down to 3/10.
But if these two keep on battling, Play Dutchy's only 1.2 seconds behind, and he could really mount a challenge to even win this race.
Potentially, we'll just have to wait and see. And like I've just seen in the chat, Phoenix does have front damage. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't actually see that. So he's got front suspension damage on both wheels and front bumper damage. That could be why he's struggling so much in this race. So maybe there was an incident between Joe Black or Holland Campion, but I'm not too sure. I didn't quite catch that. But like I said, Tiger in the slipstream behind Toussaint. Look for a move down the inside. Not close enough yet. Will he go for a late move? The Aston's good for its under its braking. He looks to the inside. Doesn't go for the inside. Just letting Toussaint know he's there. I'm sure his radar in the bottom right will be popping up with that blue arrow. But now it's the run down to turn 1, and we got a three-way battle for the lead. Riding on board now with Tiger Assassin, the bumper cam. You can just see how close he is to Toussaint. But if we look behind, there is an angry Playducci with his lights on, a bright orange BMW. I'm sure he'll be trying to make back as many places in this race and keep his winning streak, as he's right behind Tiger now. Playducci's really making his way through the field. Way to go for a move through the S's in sector 1. I think there's that tiny bit of contact, not too sure. It's quite hard to see with the camera angle it's given me, but with the dirty air, it's going to make overtaking really difficult in this first opening sector. I think sector 3 is probably the best place to make an overtake on this track, but with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, with 10 minutes into this race, it's definitely looking to be a good one.
As from the back, from Cryptek onwards, the gaps to the people behind are quite big. So obviously people are kind of spreading out a bit, as we've seen in
Playducci dives it down the inside of Tiger. There's contact between them two, and they're side by side through the 180-degree left-hander, sorry. A little bit of contact. Playducci slots back in behind Tiger for now, but a really late move down the inside didn't quite pay off. Check if Tiger's got damage. No damage for him so far, but this battle's losing time to Toussaint in front.
As I think I saw Simmerbear running wide, he got overtaken, and I think he may have been pushed wide into the gravel, but I think he's getting on okay. But Playducci has a run on Tiger, 1/10 between them into 180R. Will he do it? He's just that tiny bit too far back.
We'll have to wait and see. Riding on board with Tiger briefly, he looks to the inside, doesn't decide to go for the inside, commits back over to the racing line, the left-hand side of the track into the right-hander, obviously. You don't want to be going on the inside. It's not the fastest line. Playducci slots in behind Tiger now. We're on to lap 6 in this race, and it's currently Toussaint only leads by 6/10. So Playducci right behind Tiger in second place, who's right behind Toussaint. This battle for the lead is definitely going to get heated pretty shortly. I'm sure these drivers are going to be wanting to keep it clean. A little tap from Playducci going into turn 2. Do you count that as turn 2? I think it should be counted as turn 2. He's the second kind of right-hander, as Playducci's all over the back of Tiger now. He's side by side with him, round the outside of Tiger Assassin in turn, I have no idea, one of the S's, and he's got the move up into second place. Really good move from him.
As Toussaint now, can he keep Playducci from winning 6 races in a row? But we never know. With the controversy in the first corner, Playducci might have a penalty. But usually they do go on to the next race. But Toussaint going a little bit wide there, so maybe he might be feeling a bit of the pressure.
We'll have to find out, as maybe Playducci battling with Toussaint could allow Tiger to gain a gap on these guys. Maybe make an overtake for second, and maybe the lead. And if they battle too much, then maybe Jojo Power behind him in the Audi will catch up. But looking down the back of the grid, there's not many on-track battles, more strategical battles, as Phoenix Gamer does have that front damage, so really unfortunate for him. wow, this battle for the lead is definitely gonna be interesting, as Toussaint still leads the race, but Play Duchy is behind him in second. I'm sure none of them want to give up their position, and all three of these guys are going to be battling for the lead. So we'll just have to wait and see how this battle goes on.
It would also be amazing to see how these different drivers play the strategy, because obviously they have to manage their fuel and their tyres. So someone might do the undercut or even the overcut, which are both as effective.
Picked up a 1 second time penalty. I'm not sure where that came from actually. That could have been the final corner. Only just popped up on my screen, but Play Duchy's all over the back of Toussaint now into the S's. Will he make a similar move like he did on Tiger? We'll just have to find out. But Play Duchy will ride on board with him now. Wrong driver. So we'll now ride on board with Tiger so we can get the perfect view of what's happening out in front. Play Duchy all over the back of Toussaint. Well, actually, would he go for a move into this corner? I'm not familiar with the corner numbers or names around this track. Decides to slot in behind Toussaint for now. But all the top three split between 6/10 of each other. As Play Duchy might go look for a move down the inside. It goes down the inside, a little bit deep to the corner. There's a bit of contact between Toussaint and Play Duchy. Play Duchy almost loses the rear actually. As Tiger pulls over to the left hand side, might try and go round the outside. Toussaint tried the switch back, but Play Duchy positioned his car in the perfect position. Couldn't get the cutback on the BMW driver, and he's made his way back up into the lead of the race.
As that penalty will really affect Toussaint, as especially when you're close proximity of other drivers, you ghost, which allows the drivers around you just go straight through you, which is quite annoying even if they aren't on for a normal overtake.
Definitely, we'll just have to see how the penalties pan out as well. As that BMW does have high downforce. As there's a late move, and that's Tiger round. Really late move, missed Joseph's braking point completely, and that sent him spinning into the side of Toussaint. Now Joseph Power goes round the outside of him. What happened there?
If you can get a replay, I don't have the keyboard.
Completely missed his braking point, and that sent him spinning into the final corner. The penultimate corner. He's down to 4th place. No damage, luckily, as Joseph Power's gone wide at turn 1 once again. Is able to keep control of the Audi. Actually, really good driver to actually save the car.
Tiger lucky to have no damage, but that has caused Toussaint 3.2 seconds to Play Duchy, and it's really unfortunate for Toussaint. Tiger must have got distracted maybe, or lost his braking zone, because that seemed like a very audacious move.
Potentially just maybe missed his braking point. I don't believe it was intentional. He didn't. It looked like from the replays he completely missed his braking point and then went straight into the side of Toussaint, unfortunately. So really unfortunate for that battle for the lead. Play Duchy now regains his lead into turn 1. But how would you could kind of compare that to the lap 1 incident with Play Duchy trying to go down the inside of Tobster potentially. A bit of contact between those guys. Luckily, Toussaint and Tiger escaped with no damage, whereas Tobster is down into last place after Play Duchy collided with him on turn 1. So really unfortunate for Tobster there. His first pole position. And he's now 1 minute and 2 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, really unfortunate, as Joe Black is actually behind Sumobear. I think that's the closest battle on the track. Yeah, I think it is.
We'll just keep an eye on this battle for now. So Blue Black going 2/10 quicker on his personal best, so he's definitely pushing his Mustang to the limit. And if you want to look at quick on-track battles and the live timings, you can just see on the track map, which is something I quite like on this game actually. We can just clearly see that here is the closest battle for 7th place actually. So
saves me flicking through all the drivers, as we don't actually have a leaderboard on the left hand side like you do in Project Cars or F1. We can only see the intervals between the drivers we're spectating. So we'll just keep an eye on this battle between Joe Black and Simmerberg. Simmerberg actually runs a little bit wide into turn 2. That's going to allow Joe Black to have a good run through the S's. Obviously the dirty air is going to hinder him a little bit, but hopefully that Mustang will be planted. But I believe the Nissan actually is a bit heavier than the Mustang, so it's going to have a bit of an advantage in this opening sector, but I believe those two cars will be pretty balanced, and maybe the Mustang might actually be quicker on the straights into 130R, so we'll have to wait and see where the overtakes come, but only 6/10 separate those two guys.
Oh, Joe Black had a bit of a moment, a big moment, really lucky to catch it, but he got in the Astro, and yeah, that just shows what this track can do.
That's cost him about 1 second here, as the gap's now 1.7, 1.8 seconds, now 2 seconds as he lost the rear again a little bit, maybe losing a little bit of focus with that earlier mistake that you mentioned, so hopefully he can keep his head cool and concentrate, and like I said in the podcast, consistency is key, so as long as he drives a clean race, then hopefully he will see him make some positions in this race. But there's Cryptek now running in 9th place after starting in last, so it's a good start to his race. He's currently 11 seconds behind Joe Black. Currently he's at a 2:02. Played Dutchy with the fastest lap, 1 minute 8:58.1.
Oh, as airbag has gone off. I'm not sure was he letting Tubbs the boy and then completely misjudges it, but airbag went straight on, not into any barrier but straight into the grass.
I'll bring up a replay for you now as running on board with the airbag. We'll just have to wait and see what happened. Always a little bit late on the brakes. He's gone wide, put the power down too early, and he's gone off into the gravel. Unfortunate for him on his debut race. I believe he's replacing Duke in this race. How long the race? So I see that in the chat. It's an hour-long race, and these drivers currently have 41 minutes remaining, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Toussaint still got his 2/10 penalty. Penalties are served by the drivers lifting off the accelerator and slowing down for that amount of time given. Obviously there are the many different penalty systems in this game, but we're using the manual slowdown rather than the gates, as that's probably the safest one out of the two. We don't want drivers going 60 miles per hour on the straight serving a penalty, so
yes, as I was just seeing another comment by, I think it's CTG Kraza, the BMW looks so much more planted than the Mercedes, and I do agree. I've driven both cars, as the BMW is just very well balanced, while the Mercedes is quite, if you learn the limits of the car, it's very quick, but it's harder to learn the limits.
Definitely the Mercedes does have a straight line speed advantage, I'd say, over most of these cars. Its cornering is probably where it lacks the most, and it's the stability, but that's what makes some of these races really interesting, with the different cars having their different traits. Obviously, like we've talked about the Aston Martin before, it's really good under braking, as Tiger's got his way back past Jojo Power and is up into 3rd place still, and that's what makes things really nice to see. Like, obviously this track's quite a high speed, medium speed track, obviously with the S's and 130R and all that, but next week we're at Mount Panorama, a very opposite track, massive elevation and rather slower cornering, so we might see some of the cars like the Aston Martin and the Mercedes do well at that track, but we'll just have to wait and see, as the gaps actually come down between Play Dutch and Toussaint.
As Phoenix Gamer, as I know he's right front damage, but he now has left front damage, so the whole front of his car is damaged. And looking at people's cars, they are starting to creep into the red fuel zone, so we may be his airbag has engine damage.
Airbag with engine damage? I'm not too sure. I'm going to guess and say he lost it at Spoon Corner, but I'm not too sure. Didn't quite catch that. If anyone knows what happened or when it happened, I could bring up the live timings and just see if he's lost time. If we go down here to airbag, he's sector 3. He's set a 1:01, so he's lost it somewhere in sector 3. And if you see on the minimap, that is between
that's between 130R and the same corner he went wide at, so it's unfortunate for him. He's into the pits. Toussaint's lost a little bit of time. The gap now 2.6 seconds to the leader, but 3.7 seconds, 3.8 seconds to Tiger, so we'll just have to see how that battle plans out. As Jojo Power's actually lost the position to Oriole, so I'm missing all the action here.
Oh, Jojo Power is right front damage. Jojo Power's a full front car damage.
I have no idea what happened there. Is Woody's actually joined the room a little bit late, unfortunately, and unlike F1, he won't be able to join a car and race, so he'll be here to spectate.
So has Jojo gone off?
I reckon
Maybe
he's gone
check
off
the
in sector 2. So he does decide to come into the pits to repair that damage. He'll be pitting for fuel and obviously a new set of tyres. But
interesting
really
to see
interesting.
though, he's 6% fuel left, so that means drivers, I know everyone saves fuel different, but around 5%, 6% the drivers might be on, and you see Joe Black coming into the pits as well.
So some of the drivers making the pit stop now, Joe Black and Jojo Power. Jojo obviously had that damage to repair, so he's going to be in the pits for slightly longer. But obviously, there's, like we've said before, there's no average pit stop time, as these drivers can do anything from maybe 4 seconds to 20 seconds, depending on how much fuel, if you change how much fuel you put on, how much damage, if you change the tyres, if you have damage. We have absolutely no idea. But Joe Black's in. And like Craze is sitting in the chat, Jojo Power struggling with that Audi, but like we've seen before, once that rear goes, it goes, and it's quite difficult to hold. But I think once you get a grip with the Audi, once you've learned its driving style, then it is a really nice car to drive. It reminds me of the Red Bull in 2010, really suited Sebastian Vettel's driving style. So that, as Jojo Power making a little bit of a mistake onto the AstroTurf, sorry. And, we'll see where he rejoins in comparison to the likes of Oriole and Holland Campion, and also Tiger, the people who he was battling with before his pit stop.
Do we go to Tiger for an interview, or do we leave that? Or
I think we'll give it a few minutes after his minor incident, as he comes into the pits now. And interestingly, 1% of fuel. So maybe he's been burning more of his fuel to try and stick with and gain at the time he lost to Toussaint and Play-Dutchy. Oriole's into the pits, he had 3% of his fuel left, so he conserved a little bit more of his fuel. So that's going to be interesting to see where Toussaint and Play-Dutchy come out. Obviously some of these drivers have probably done their fuel and tyre wear stats and you know, in their individual practice sessions of how long each tyre can go. And Play-Dutchy actually goes purple in the first sector by 3,000, so obviously with his light fuel level he'd be able to go a little bit quicker, but it's going to be worth it.
His airbag's off.
His airbag, I just saw it on the mini-map, his airbag's gone off. He's got the blue flags and he's span in the gravel. There goes Toussaint on the inside, and Tiger interestingly comes out in third place after pitting.
Yes, I think he was in third place when he went into the pits, but to maintain third place, Holland Campion hasn't pitted yet, as he doesn't have much fuel left. So we'd be expecting Toussaint, Play-Dutchy and even Holland Campion in the pits next couple of laps.
And Simmerber only 1 second behind Holland Campion. He hasn't pitted as well, and he's up into 5th place. But drivers like Oriole and Jojo Power, they have pitted, so it's gonna. Well, we've had this before. We've had different strategic games being played under the pit stops in terms of fuel load and tyre management. So we'll just have to see where all the drivers come out respective to each other. Ryan on board with Play-Dutchy and see if he decides to come into the pits. He doesn't.
Has Jojo gone off again? He's in 7th. Is that?
Not too sure, but Toussaint comes into the pits now. Jojo Power down to 7th place, so maybe he went wide somewhere, but I'm not too sure. Toussaint only has 1% of fuel, so I wonder how much fuel Play-Dutchy has in his BMW. It's going to be something to keep an eye out. But Jojo Power drifting it round Spoon. What at that? Look at him go. I'm so... Ladies and gents, maze round. Unable to put on the show he wanted, and is now going backwards to turn
Holland
his car
Champion.
around. Maybe he'll retire the car. He
Really?
doesn't seem to be retiring the car, but he done well to drift it through the first half of Spoon, but then, and he's actually retired the car.
So maybe he's had enough for today. Really unfortunate, as we saw at the start of the season, Jojo was having the battles for the lead, especially in Circuit del Azar. He was really up there, but then he started to fall away. As Play Duchy, we probably would be expecting him to come into the pits this lap. And then I shall...
We'll just have to wait and see, as he currently has a 20-second lead, hasn't pitted yet. But if we compare his fuel to other drivers' fuels, he can't have a lot left in that BMW. Obviously going long will allow him to have less fuel in his car for the end of the race, so have a slower pit stop, sorry, a quicker pit stop, because he will be able to put on the less fuel if he's able to conserve it this well. Just have to wait and see whether he'll come into the pits in this lap. We'll just ride on board with him down the straight into 130R.
As we've seen in every race, he's always the last to pit, so he must be very good at managing his fuel, which is very handy as he comes into the pits.
He does go into the pits, and he actually has 0% left of fuel, so he timed that to perfection. We'll just have to wait and see where it comes out compared to Toussaint. I reckon he will stay in first place. Toussaint now coming through the final corner. This could be kind of close, actually, depending on how much fuel Play Duchy pumps into the pits. And as Toussaint comes across the line, it's actually not going to be as close as I thought. Play Duchy comes out of the pits now. Here comes Toussaint down the start-finish straight.
He's gained time. He's gained time.
He's gained a lot of time, actually. 6 seconds.
Oh, it's going down now.
But I think our closest battle on track is between Oriole and Holland Campion. Holland Campion 2.8 seconds behind Oriole in Mercedes. We'll have to wait and see how both of those drivers do in this race. Holland Campion, I believe this is his third race. And just see Jojo in the chat. Unfortunately for him, he retired the car. Audi is a really tough. He seems to be having issues with his Audi, and like we've mentioned before, when that rear goes, it does go. So unfortunate for him to retire. He had a really good start to the season. Obviously, I think he came third or fourth. I think he came third in the Nürburgring. So it's unfortunate to see him have to retire due to his car issues. But good luck to him in the next few races, as there's actually a pretty close battle on track between Toussaint and Tiger. Is that Toussaint and Tiger? Oh no, that's just Toussaint overtaking Airbag. I'm looking at the mini-map here, and we'll just leave it on Play Duchy a little bit, and to see how he's doing in this race. And he's currently leading this race by 6.8 seconds. Toussaint in second place, as Play Duchy actually get a little bit of a drift through 130R. As Tiger now in third place. The gap between Joe Black and P6, I'll have a look for you now, is 4.4 seconds. So we'll just have to wait and see whether Joe Black can gain that time. But going through the rest of the grid, Oriole is in fourth place, Holland Campion in fifth. Sixth is Simmerberg. He's doing really well in that Nissan. Started, I believe, down in 8th place or something like that. So he's done well to get himself up into 6th place. Joe Black in 4th. Tobster, he had a big crash with what's his name? Play Duchy, sorry. Turn 1. He's made his way back up into 8th place. Phoenix Gamer up into 9th place. He's got his windscreen wipers on, so maybe he's seen a little bit of rain, or maybe he's just having fun with the controls. He's repaired the damage from earlier. And Cryptech, he's made his way up into 10th place. Airbag on his debut down in 11th. He seems to be struggling a little bit with that, with the Volkswagen Beetle. And he's actually got a Tiger behind him who's got blue flags to him. And Toussaint now served his penalty. It was a 1-second penalty, but he's now served his penalty, and is, with 30 minutes to go, we'll just have to wait and see what he can do in this race, whether he can gain the gap back down to Play Duchy. We'll just have to wait and see. But Tiger, after his collision, is in third. Oriole having a really clean race, actually in 4th place.
not much action on track, but this is a common theme that we're seeing in this GT Sports League. Obviously, with drivers putting on different amounts of fuel, as you can see there, that's a really good comparison. Look in the bottom left of your screen, you can see the fuel and the tyres. Look at Toussaint's fuel, and then you compare it to Oriol's. Oriol's got a lot more fuel in, so he's going to be pushing much more than Toussaint, but Toussaint's going to have a quicker car in terms of fuel loads, but he might be in a lower fuel mixture, maybe in 2 or 3, and conserving it more than some of the other guys. But we'll just have to wait and see how that what happens with these guys. And also interestingly, Tobster in 8th place. He's gaining on Joe Black. If the gap was 11 seconds, it's now 9.6. And something that's quite interesting, the gap to the lead is 1.2 seconds. And if you remember, when he pitted, that was the exact same gap to the leader on lap 2 or 3. So Tobster definitely has the pace in this race. He's just unable to show it up against the big boys after getting after having that collision on lap 1. So it's really unfortunate for him to get his first pole position and then be all the way down in 8th place after that incident. But we'll just have to wait and see where he can finish in this race. I believe he's about midway in the table. He did join halfway through the championship. Quite a few drivers joined halfway through the championship. Played Dutch. He's a relatively new addition to the championship, along with Oriol, Holland Campion. Simmenberg joined in round 3. Joe Black's been here from the start. Tobster joined, I believe, at Spa. Hello to everyone else in the chat. Phoenix Gamer, I think, is new to the league. He joined in the 3rd or 4th race. Cryptech, a relatively new addition. I believe this is his 2nd or 3rd race, but actually 3rd race, I think. His first race, I believe, was at the Kyoto Driving Park. A really fun race for us all. Provided lots of overtaking and drama, I should say. Caused a lot of discussions in the chats, but a really good race. This league never fails to disappoint. I don't think we've had one bad race, and all of these drivers, in fairness, have had really good races. All of them been battling, no matter whether, even if it's the first or even if it's for last. These guys have had really clean and fun battles that I've enjoyed commentating on. So respects for those guys for doing such a good job on track. 26 minutes remaining. These guys have done 17 laps. Blaine Dutch is about to start his 18th lap, as he does currently hold the fastest lap of the race. But let me know what you guys have enjoyed in this race, whether you've had any favourite overtakes or any key moments as someone's off at Spoon and it's Cryptech. I caught that on the minimap. We'll get a replay for you now. It's turn 1 actually. Turn 1 and Spoon look very similar on the map. And he's gone onto the curb, and that rear of the Aston's really violent spin actually. Really lucky it's not into the barrier, as he will rejoin back down in 10th place. Really unfortunate for him, as he's currently getting lapped by, I believe it's Toussaint now. It's about to approach him. He'll be shown the blue flag. The blue flag meaning to move over off the racing line and to allow the faster driver through. I'm sure these drivers are aware of the blue flag. See the different colour flags: green meaning go, yellow slow down. There's no red flag in this race, black flag being you're disqualified. Obviously there are the other flags, the red and yellow, the black and white, the black and orange, but they're not in this game, so we don't have to worry about them, as Cryptech pulls over to the left hand side and allows Toussaint to go through. Good sportsmanship from those guys. As Joe Black now, the gap's gone up to Simmerberg but down to Tobster, so I'm not saying he's struggling, but he's definitely going conservative, like I said earlier on in this race, after his minor half spin. The gap 5.7 seconds to Simmerberg. We'll just have to wait and see what he does in this race. He is in the Ford Mustang, so we'll just have to see what he can do. Holland Campion in 5th place in the other, one of my favourite cars. Maybe not necessarily to drive, but he's in the Jaguar F-Type, a kind of rusty Lightning McQueen livery. Maybe trying to get a point across to say that he is speed. Currently running in 5th place. He's had 1 pole position out of his 3 races, so a really good debut from him. And Tiger Assassin currently running in third place. We'll just ride on board a little bit with Tiger in the Aston Martin. We'll see how he performs in this race. 15 seconds behind to Saint and 12 to Oriole, so he's kind of in a race of his own. We'll go down to a few of the other drivers. Simabara is in 6th place. Tobster in 8th place. We'll see what he can do in his Honda. Hopefully we can see him do well in this race. Come back through the field. His tyres are looking a little bit worn on the rear, so that could be an issue towards the end of this race. Currently 22 minutes to go, and things could potentially get interesting. Obviously, I'm not too sure whether some of these guys are doing a one track or a one stop or a two stop. And could you give 1 minute, guys? Sorry about that. I just had to check something. Apparently it said it wasn't recording on my my thing. So, but it's good to see that we're still live and I haven't actually crashed yet. So that's that. Playdacci though still leads this race, still setting consistent lap times, as you can see on the right. Obviously that 2:15 was a pit stop, and to Saint with some relatively consistent lap times as well. So we've got Oriole running in 4th place, sorry. He's done well to get himself up into 4th place. There's not many on-track battles at the moment, so as you can see on the minimap, everyone's kind of rather spread out. 21.5 minutes to go. Oriole setting a new personal best. As well, they're showing blue flags there. Has Playdacci caught up to these guys? Not too sure why he was waving blue flags on the straights, but go down to Simmerberg now. He's currently running in 6th place. We'll see how he does in this race. Not many on track battles. It's kind of been rather clean and consistent. Tobster and Joe Black probably the fastest. Not the fastest man on track, sorry, the closest on track battle. The currently 3 seconds behind Joe Black. That gap is rapidly going down, and there's quite a battle actually for, where is that? You can see it on the map. There's blue flags for Cryptek, but who am I looking at? There's Oriole coming up to the back of Airbag. Airbag does have the blue flags. We'll just have to keep an eye on this and see whether he gets out the way cleanly for Oriole. He does. He actually goes off the track to get to allow Oriole through. So respecting the blue flags, could have pulled over, but he's let Oriole go through cleanly. So that's all that matters in the end. But we'll just ride on board with Tobster and see how he does in this race. Sorry guys, I forgot to privatise my commentators party, so if you bear with me with a second, I do apologise about the blue and about the blue screen and the lovely black box in the top left corner. Unfortunately, I'm not party leader. My co-commentator's party leader, but I'm not sure where he is at the minute. But on track now, Tobster is gaining on Joe Black. The gap was 3 seconds now, 2 seconds. And don't worry, JJ Power, you have been good in this race, in this championship. I know you're in 5th place, but we've seen the table change so much. We saw obviously Duke lead the first 3 races in this league, and now he's, I believe, 3rd place after this race, with a 2nd place finish from, 3rd place finish from Tiger. Might see him jump Duke in the championship. So hopefully we'll see you back up there racing next week. And I always like watching these drivers battle their cars. But the gap now 1.1 seconds between Tobster and Joe Black, so it's definitely definitely gaining. He's pushing his Honda to the limits. He might be a little bit frustrated after that lap 1 incident, and hello at him in the chat. And yeah, the next race is Mountain Panorama, and a very fun track. Obviously, some of the drivers I've been talking to, some of them are looking forward to it, some of them are absolutely dreading it. But yeah, the man to watch next week, Tiger Assassin and Cryptek, the Aston Martin, I'd say the fastest car around Mountain Panorama with its high downforce around that track. So keep an eye out for those guys. But Tobster now looking round the outside of Joe Black, unable to make the move yet, but it's going to be a beautiful switchback move, and I'm unable to get the place just yet, but that wider line is going to allow him to get a good run on him. He's in the slipstream. Honda versus Ford. He looks for the round the outside, a spoon corner, really beautiful move round the outside. Spoon corner, not a place, not a corner you'd refer to with overtaking, but he's made it work, and he's now got 17 minutes to make up 9.1 seconds to Simmerberg. Let's see how he does in that, in terms of closing the gap down. But there is a little bit of a battle. Don't know if it's blue flags. Let me try to find it for you guys. I believe it's a lapped airbag getting blue flag to someone coming down the straights. Who is it? I can't find it. It's can you see what? Who is it? It's coming into turn 1 now. Oh, it's Simmerberg. I do apologise about that. I couldn't find the driver, but I'm just gonna bring up the live timings now. We'll get the track map, and as you can see, not many on-track battles, so if there's anyone who you want to have a look at or ride on board with, let me know in the chat and I'll take a look at it. I believe Joe Black, Tobster getting past Joe Black is our closest on-track battle, so we'll keep an eye on that. Joe Black 7/10 behind the pole position sitter. Tobster in the Honda. And we've had 75% of this race, approaching the final 25%. Almost 15 minutes left in this race. So yeah, this drive, we've seen some really good overtakes. Not the best overtakes. We've had 2 collisions, I think, in this race, or 2 rather major collisions. One damage that we've caught due to overtaking. I don't know what happened to the other guy, so we just have to wait and see how the race plans out. Just having a quick drink, and we can get back into the swing of things. The gap was 1.9 seconds. Tobster now 1.8 seconds, so he's gained 1.1 seconds in the last 2 minutes, and by my calculations, that's just enough. Literally 8 minutes. If you times it by 2, 15 minutes. 8 times 2 is 16, and that further maths ain't going to waste, is it? With 15 minutes to go, Tobster's going to need to find a little bit more time, but we'll just have to wait and see, as 2 cars are going pretty close to each other into turn 1. But I believe that's Holland Campion lapping Cryptek in the background. If there's any driver you want some screen time for, just let me know, and we'll give them some of the screen time. But not many on-track battles. But like I said at the halfway through, it's more of a strategic race with some of these drivers, because obviously unlike this game in F1, for example, I'm going to compare it to F1 because F1's what I'm more familiar with. The different fuel modes in F1, they do have an impact on your speed, between lean, standard and rich. But this game, there's a big difference between fuel mix 1 and fuel mix 3, for example. So that could be a changing point in this race between different drivers. Trying to do different strategies with the fuel. The gap between P2 and P3, 18 seconds. You can see 2 seconds lap time has been fairly consistent. I've said that, and he's got 4 seconds slower than his previous best, so maybe I'm not sure if any of these guys have pitted. I didn't actually have a check. And Woody, if you do want to join me, feel free to join the party. I'll send you a quick invite if you want to co-commentate with me. Bear with me for 1 second, and we'll just get him in the party, see if he wants to join us up in the commentary box, as we did lose Woody. Sorry, Thunder, he did have to go, but he did mention it before the race. He does have other plans. Don't blame him, as lockdown is starting to ease in certain countries. Hello, Woody.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing alright.
So unfortunately you couldn't be here racing, but you're joining me in the commentary box, and I believe our closest battle was actually Tobster and Simmerbow. Tobster getting past Simmerbow up into 6th place. So unfortunately, due to that lap 1 incident, he's not able to show his true pace, but he is really working his way through the field. And Simmerbow...
I just realised I accidentally muted you, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it, but Black Country Mush in the chat. Good to see everyone involved in the chat. If there's anyone you want to see any onboards with, we'll get them out for you guys, as I believe Cryptek's actually gaining on... Oh no, sorry, that's 1 minute and 27 seconds. I didn't realise how big the gap was. So there we go. So I believe Cryptek's made a few pit stops actually, and made a few mistakes, unfortunately for him, unable to show his potential.
I think the closest gap the battle is between Tobster and Smallbear, and you can see Joe back in the background of that as well.
Definitely, and Tobster having pit early is now able to burn all the fuel that he's put on. Obviously he's going to have the higher tyre wear compared to the other guys, so we just compare it real quick to Simmerbow. Simmerbow got hardly any tyre wear, and Tobster's got quite a fair bit of rear tyre wear, so he's going to be struggling in some of the low speed corners getting the grip. But currently on lap 24, someone predicted in the chat we'd have 29 laps, so really close estimate actually, with 10 minutes to go. On board with Simmerbow now. He'll be looking to try and gain in on Tobster. Tobster claiming pole position by, I believe it was just less than 4/10, but that collision in turn 1 and that contact with Play Dutchie's dropped him all the way down, dropped him down to last place, and he's done well to go from 12th to 6th. He's currently my personal driver of the day. If you want to have a driver of the day, vote in the chat. Just let me know who you want to vote for driver of the day. We do have 10 minutes left in the race, and we don't have any position change or anything like we have in F1. So if you can remember this guy's qualifying results, impressive memory. But Play Dutchie currently leads this race. To Satan in 2nd, Tiger in 3rd, Oriole in 4th, Holland Campion in 5th place, Tobster 6th, Simmerbow down in 7th place, Joe Black in 8th, Phoenix Gamer in 9th, Cryptek in 10th, Airbag down in 11th place in his debut. Unfortunately for him, made a few mistakes, and Jojo Power retired after losing control of his car.
Phoenix Gamers round.
That's Phoenix Gamers made a mistake. Another one at turn 1. We'll get an action replay of that for you guys. We'll ride on board with him and just see what happened. And yeah, like me and Thunder said in this qualifying, he's got onto the curb in turn 1, and once you're on that curb, it's difficult to catch the car. We've seen Jojo Power and I believe it was Cryptek do the same things, and I think Airbag also done the same. So a common corner where the drivers are making a few mistakes. But I totally agree with you, Krazer. Unlucky start, but he's kept his head down, kept a cool head on. You know, some of these drivers, and I'm not saying these drivers, but some drivers in other leagues maybe, or in real motorsport racing, you know, they have their lap 1 incidents and just get too frustrated and then push themselves, and then get caught out with track limits and pushing too far. But Tobster, he's done well to make a recovery drive. He's now got a 3-second gap behind the Simmerbow, and he's really pushing his Honda. The Honda, not the easiest car to drive, and he's done really well to keep a cool head.
Gap between Oriole and Holland Campion is 2.7 seconds now.
2.7, 2.6, 2.5. So he's definitely gaining on Oriole, but with the time remaining 8 minutes, he's gonna have to gain what's that? Half a second a lap. So it's not impossible, but he's gonna have to try and find half a second a lap to Oriel if he wants to try and make the move up into 4th place, but it's not impossible. We'll just have to keep an eye on that gap. Lap 26 out of however many these guys do. Obviously it's a 1 hour endurance race. These guys have been going for 52 minutes, and if you do the maths, 60 minus 52 is 8. So with 8 minutes to go,
you can really tell Tubbs pushing compared if you compare all the tyre wears. He's trying to push all the way. He's trying his best to get the gap down to driver in front, but I don't think he will.
Definitely, as Simmerber's picked himself up a 1 second penalty, now down to 8 seconds. That double right hand is a really easy place to cut the corner. Obviously it's almost a blind fast right hander, and then when you're through the first right, you'll immediately into a heavy braking zone for the second right hander. So he's unfortunately exceeded the track limits too much, in my opinion, these guys getting penalties isn't the worst thing, because it just shows how determined they are to push the track limits. They're pushing to the extreme. Obviously Simmerberg trying to gain down time to Topster, but he's pushed a little bit too much. But that just demonstrates his determination to get back up into this race. And like you say, Topster, with his high tyre wear and his quick laps, is definitely trying to push, potentially for fastest lap maybe, but I'm not sure. That's going to be quite unlikely with his high tyre wear. But he's doing well, really well in this race, from pretty much last to 6th.
Could have a chance to push because he has a lot better tyre wear compared to Topster. So I see he might catch up at the end.
Definitely, and Simmerberg also has less fuel, so he's going to be slightly quicker, especially in the low speed corners. The medium speed corners, he's going to be able to get a little bit quicker on the acceleration. But Play Duchy, a little bit of a controversial start to this race, but he's done well to put himself back up into 1st place. He's got a 21 second gap, so where he might be pushing a little bit more rather than Toussaint. And look at the gap that's opened up between the front 3. I don't know if you were watching at the start, I think you were, Woody, but they were all battling for 3rd place in the first 10-15 minutes, and now Tiger to Play Duchy's 45.8 seconds.
Ran wide.
As Cryptex ran wide, and the double right hander, tricky corner like I mentioned earlier, and it looks like he's struggling with the rear. He's let Simmerberg go under the blue flags. Good sportsmanship from him, and I'm just going to get the championship standings up for everyone's work out whether Tiger will jump in.
Best lap. Duchy has his fastest lap is nearly 1 second better than Toussaint's.
Oh, so Cryptex lost in a spoon. He's gone too late under the brakes, and he's revving that engine in 3rd gear. He's got an issue. It could just be the gravel, but he seems to be back onto the track, and he's lost it again on the rear. He needs to be careful. Like we said, he needs to keep a cool head and cool his tyres down. And airbag is catching up to him. And as it stands in this race, I believe Tiger Assassin will jump Duke in the standings and move his way up into 2nd place. So it's been a really good, consistent race from Tiger, and that's something I'm just going to mention real quick. Tiger has had a really clean and consistent championship, and if you haven't listened to the podcast, that's what I mentioned about my weekend league championship win. It's all about being consistent. Toussaint, another one of those drivers who's kept it clean and consistent. And talk about consistency, Play Duchy's ran a little bit wide into the penultimate few corners, but Toussaint constantly up there on the podium. He's only had 2 races where he wasn't on the podium, and one of them was a replacement driver, Austria. So consistency definitely the key to a good championship result. He's currently leading the championship. I mentioned it in the podcast, and that's all it is. Consistency in just wins races. We see Javier Ranz in the project cars. Obviously he won pretty much every race, so really consistent in that form. Toussaint and Shankster in the Premier Series, consistently winning and getting podiums in that league, so that's enabled them to do well.
as Airbag's actually got in front of Cryptek. Cryptek's made another mistake, unfortunately, but it's all about being consistent, and that's what gets you the points in the long run for the championship.
Yeah, the gap's now 10 seconds between Cryptek and Airbag, so we just had a major incident there.
And lap 27, someone said 29 earlier in the chat. Who? I'm going to find out and see who it was. Give them a quick shout out if I can find it. I can't seem to find it, but someone said 29 laps. Oh, here we go, it's Daniel. So Daniel said 29 laps, so good guess from him. With 2 minutes left, that might actually be right. We'll have to wait and see.
I don't think you're going to be able to, we'll be seeing any last lap drama, because the gaps they're pretty big between all the drivers. Yeah,
and as you can see on the stream now, you can just see the gap difference between everyone. Satan and Dutchy 27, 21, 27, 8, 12, 7, 3, 11, 20, 34, 1 minute 37 and 10 seconds. So the gaps are pretty big between everyone. So I'm not sure we're going to get some last lap overtakes. Oh dear, my camera's glitching again. Hang on, give me 1 second, guys. There we go, we're back, and we had similar events. Austria, and that was quite drama, quite annoying actually. But yeah, we're on to lap 29 with 2 minutes to go, and well, it's been I'm not saying a boring race, but it's been more of a strategic race. Some of the guys putting on more fuel than others, and it hasn't worked out in their favour too much, I'd say. I don't know about your opinions, or about your opinions in the chat, or what Thunder would have thought. I can't ask him now. He has disappeared. He's gone. But yeah, something like unlike F1 or Project Cars, you come in for a into the pits, and you can either change tyres, you can't change tyres, you can put in as much fuel as you want, repair damage. There's no set pit stop time, so that's what makes it interesting. And I think Tiger's lost out on that quite a bit with his with a 28-second gap to 2 Saints, consistently in the 2 minute ones, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes. So I think if we look at the drivers' times, they've all been clean and consistent. The only problem is they're not near anyone on track, which is unfortunate from a spectator's point of view. But
most
1 minute
of the
to go.
Drivers, they've got their strategies right. Oriole has a tiny bit more fuel than everyone else, but I don't think it'll affect them that much in terms of lap times. They're all in red.
And this is the fun part in the race, where I try and predict who's going to be the first to come across the line. I believe my guess is on Toussaint. I think Toussaint will be the first driver to come across the line with only 30 seconds to go. Actually, it could potentially be the person who's on the straight. It could be Phoenix Gamer. Not too sure. We'll just keep an eye on Phoenix for now. He's currently in 9th place. It's been a good race from him. He's got front left damage, so he's got that from somewhere. I think that was the incident turn 1. And he's coming through the final corner now with 10 seconds to go in this race. He might slow down so he doesn't have to complete another lap. With, I don't know, he doesn't actually. 3 seconds to go. And it's the final lap here of the race. Phoenix Gamer comes across the line, finishes in 9th place. Toussaint now in 2nd place. It's been a pretty clean race from him, other than his minor incident with Tiger Assassin in the opening few laps. He comes across the line in 2nd place. A really clean, consistent race from him. It extends his gap at the top of the championship to I think it was going to be, I can't work out the points in my head, but I think it's about 24 points with Tiger's, was what the points that Tiger's getting in this race. Tiger coming through the final chicane now, the penultimate chicane now, in round the final corner, and will pick up a podium 3rd place in this race as he flashes in lights and weaves across the line for 3rd place. Oriole's done a good job to make his way up into 4th place. Holland Campion now will be the next to come across the line in 5th place in the Jaguar F-Type. I'll just keep an eye on him as he comes across the line in 5th place now. Tobster, my driver of the day, and I think he's most people's driver of the day. Really unfortunate start, but he will finish in a really good 6th place from what happened at the start. Simmerberg will finish in 7th place, and Joe Black will be the last person to come. Oh no, he wouldn't be the last person. Still Airbag and Cryptek to come across the line. But Joe Black, really good race compared to last week. Will finish up in 8th place, and he's certainly happy flashing his lights.
Might be moving up to the second championship.
Potentially, as Duke's replacement will finish in 10th place, and an unfortunate race for Cryptek. He's not at the best of races here. He's had a few spins and a few collisions, not with other drivers but with himself. Like we said earlier, the curbs and the AstroTurf are really tricky and are really known for drivers spinning around this track. But he comes round the final corner in style, backwards indeed. But there is your finishing grid in this race. It does say if one was lapped, but that's just due to the timings. And once again, he didn't take pole, but it's his 6th race win in the GT Sport League in a row. Well, it's his sixth consecutive out of the races that Dutchy's raced in. But that's all from the GT Sport League here at Gavra Racing. We are finished at round 10, and the next week will be round 11 at the at Mount Panorama. It should hopefully be a fun race. Thank you to Thunder for joining me in the first half of the race, and thank you for Woody for stepping into the last 10-15 minutes of that one. It was definitely a strategic race. The first half was more battles. The second half was more strategic in the pit stops. Obviously, we saw two tops that get past Zimmerberg, and yeah, he was able to get himself up to 6th place. But that's all from me here in the GT Sport race. Hope to see everyone next week at Mount Panorama, same place, same time, and until next week, see ya.